The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the quiet streets of the small town. The air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of autumn leaves. Officer Daniel Harris adjusted his hat and continued his patrol, his footsteps echoing softly against the pavement. It had been a quiet evening, the kind of shift that made him grateful for the peacefulness of his community. But peace, as he would soon learn, can be shattered in an instant. As he turned the corner onto Maple Street, a faint whimper caught his attention. He paused, scanning the dimly lit sidewalk. There, huddled beneath a flickering street lamp, was a scruffy dog. Its fur was matted, and its ribs were visible beneath its thin coat. The dog's eyes met Daniel's, and for a moment the officer felt a pang of sympathy. He crouched down, extending a hand. "Hey there, buddy," he said softly. "You lost?" The dog tilted its head, its tail giving a tentative wag. Daniel reached into his pocket and pulled out a small treat he kept for such encounters. The dog sniffed it cautiously before gently taking it from his hand. As the dog ate, Daniel noticed a worn collar around its neck, but no tags. He sighed. Another stray in a town that already had too many. "I'll take you to the shelter tomorrow," he said, standing. "For now, you can hang with me." The dog followed him as he continued his patrol, keeping a respectful distance, but never straying too far. Daniel found himself glancing back at the animal, amused by its quiet persistence. He didn't know it yet, but this chance encounter would change his life. An hour later, Daniel's radio crackled to life. "Officer Harris, we've got a report of a disturbance at the old warehouse on Elm. Proceed with caution." Daniel's pulse quickened. The old warehouse was a known hot spot for trouble. He turned to the dog, who had been trotting beside him. "Stay here, okay? This might get dangerous." The dog sat obediently, its ears perked, as if understanding. Daniel hurried toward the warehouse, his hand resting on his holster. As he approached, he heard raised voices and the sound of something crashing to the ground. He radioed for backup before cautiously pushing open the creaking door. Inside, the scene was chaotic. Two men were arguing fiercely, their faces red with anger. Broken crates and scattered debris littered the floor. Daniel stepped forward, his voice firm. "Police! Drop whatever you're holding and step away from each other." The men froze, their eyes darting to Daniel. For a moment, it seemed like they would comply. But then, one of them reached into his jacket, pulling out a knife. Daniel's heart raced as he drew his weapon, his training kicking in. "Drop the knife. Now." The man hesitated, his grip tightening on the weapon. Daniel's mind raced, calculating his next move. But before he could act, a blur of fur shot past him. The dog, his unlikely companion, launched itself at the man with the knife, barking ferociously. The man stumbled backward, dropping the weapon in surprise. Daniel seized the opportunity, rushing forward to subdue the man. The other suspect, seeing his partner disarmed, raised his hands in surrender. Backup arrived moments later, and the situation was quickly brought under control. Daniel turned to the dog, who was now sitting calmly by his side, panting lightly. "You saved my life," Daniel said, crouching to scratch behind the dog's ears. "I don't even know your name." The dog wagged its tail, its eyes bright with loyalty. Daniel made a decision, then and there. "You're coming home with me," he said. "No more wandering the streets." The next morning, Daniel took the dog to the vet for a checkup. The vet confirmed what Daniel had suspected. The dog was malnourished and had likely been on its own for a while. But with proper care, it would recover. Daniel named the dog Max, short for maximum effort, a nod to the bravery the animal had shown. Over the following weeks, Max became an integral part of Daniel's life. The dog's presence brought a sense of companionship Daniel hadn't realized he was missing. Max accompanied him on his patrols, his sharp senses often alerting Daniel to potential dangers before they escalated. The townspeople grew fond of the duo, often stopping to pet Max or share a kind word with Daniel. But Max's heroism didn't end that night at the warehouse. One chilly evening, as Daniel and Max walked through the park, they heard a faint cry for help. Following the sound, they found a young boy who had fallen through the ice on the pond. Without hesitation, Max bounded toward the water, barking loudly to draw attention. Daniel radioed for assistance and carefully made his way onto the ice, using Max's barks as a guide. Together they managed to pull the boy to safety. The incident made headlines, and Max became a local hero. The town rallied around the unlikely pair, organizing a fundraiser to support the shelter where Max had almost ended up. Daniel used